Hey guys, this is Sarah from Thrifty Crafty Stitcher, and today I am going to show you one of my newest products. I have done these before in the past, but I've never really sold them. I just used them for little tuck-ins into my bigger bags. And what I am doing, I want to do it all in this variegated pink, so I am making this bulky on its own. You make a regular loop, just like you're going to start crocheting, and you just draw that string through, and give yourself a good place to start. And when you end up at the other end, you just do it again and give yourself more room to crochet. I don't have any hard and fast rules about the size, but I usually do about 12 to 13 chains. Sometimes I make them a little longer and a little skinnier, but that's probably a norm. So let's say we do 13. That's about what I would normally do. And as you can see, I am working with 3-ply. Most of the time when I am working with yarn, I do work with 3-ply. Every once in a while I get something that's really thick and I can do less. Sometimes I get skinnier and I add more. But I like the bulk of, I never do anything single ply. So I'm just doing, I almost always stitch with a half double crochet. And I don't get fancy with them, especially with these. I just whip them up real quick. But they look nice. I'll try to grab a couple and put them into the video so that you can see some of the other ones that I do. This one will be really cute because it's a variegated. And I do play around with the yarn sometimes. You know, I'll do a two-tone, or depends on what I'm feeling like, or if I run out of a color. Or everything I use yarn-wise is thrifted. So most of the time I don't even know what I'm using. I've gotten to where I recognize a few of them, but usually they don't have packages on them. So if I run out of a color, I have learned that all I need to do is say I've run out, I've been using blue, I'll just tie another blue on, as long as I'm consistent and have one thread that is running through it. I've got to the end there, so I'm just giving myself another feed of making it bulky. And I am increasing on the end, so you do 3 stitches in that end stitch to go around the circle or around the end, and then continue. I know most of you are probably, if you're watching this, you're probably an experienced crocheter and you already know that, but okay, now we're going back around the, and I do not increase these very much. I'll probably do one more row and then start going up to the top. I don't want them real full. Of course, when I make bigger ones, I go further than that, but these are just little quick get-her-dones. I do have a lot of fun. I have a collection of really neat buttons, so I get into my button stash and find something cool. And I have a secret source here in Northwest Arkansas. There's a place in if you're local and watching this, Alpena, Arkansas, which is on the 412 on the way to Branson. And I forget what it's called, but you'll see it. It's obvious. It's a something bar, craft barn or something along that line. And she has, probably 3 by 3 feet bins, 2 or 3 in a row, and she just dumps buttons into that thing. And it's some of them are packaged, like it might be 3 for a, but anyway, just about anything in that bin is 50 cents. And I go through there and I pick out the biggest buttons I can find, or I'll pick out the really cute ones as accent pieces. I have also ordered quite a few off of Temu as I can find them. They have interesting wooden buttons that I buy fairly often. I have a problem with Temu because most of theirs are sewing oriented and they're meant to be on jackets and stuff, and I very rarely find anything that's more than an inch, which is too small on my big purses. So I can use it on these, but I can't use it on the big purses. Okay, that's about as wide as I want it. And we still getting a lot of color movement and color change on this, so that it's working out. And from here, I'm going to do one more double crochet just to get to the top. I'm going to switch over to a single crochet, and that gives an edge when this turns up and starts going. I am what is called an organic crocheter, and all that means is I don't use a pattern. I was a sporadic crocheter for a long time. I was more a stitcher than I was crochet, and every time I crocheted, I would have whatever I was doing. I would have somebody show me how to do that particular project, and I would do that, and then I wouldn't crochet again for several years, and I decided I was going to do something else, and somebody would show me how to do it. So I never really learned to read a pattern. And when I started crocheting with the Plarn, basically all I use is a single crochet, a double crochet, and every once in a while I use a half. Most of the time I use a half double, single crochet, half double, and double. And very seldom do I switch over to any other patterns. They don't really show with Plarn. And but I got ashamed of myself at some point in the 8 years I've been doing this, and I got a book on crocheting flowers and made myself learn how to read the patterns, but I still don't follow a pattern. Therefore, all my work is unique. No one is the same. No one is the same combination of colors, because it depends on what I have on hand, especially with the Plarn. I can get all the Walmart bags I want, all the brown bags I want. Anything else I have to save up. So I can't do custom orders that way, because I might or might not have it. And I might or might not be able to get it. Now let's see. Nope, not quite. Okay. It shows up more when you've got more of a bottom, but basically that just forms a little cup, and it probably would flatten out if I made it, but, and from there I just stitch until I get it the length I want. Another way I will sometimes do, especially with wildly changing variegated yarns, I will crochet a long chain, just the whole ball, and I will crochet it, and then I will crochet that chain into a purse. But it's an interesting look, and I'm all about texture and color change and playing with color, playing with stitches, playing with, I call it playing. I used to own a cross-stitch shop, and that's the way I was with cross-stitch too. I would very, very, very rarely would I do a design the way the designer designed it. Change the fiber because I wanted a different texture, or I would change up colors, or I would, take a section out of the thing and do it, or I was always changing something. They said I was mean to them because whenever we did a project or had a camp or whatever, I would make them choose their own threads. And what I was trying to do was to get them over the idea that, number one, the stitching police would come get them if they changed the color, which is the easiest thing in the world to do. And number two, get them over the fear of choosing colors. If your eye is telling you there's something wrong, there's something wrong. If you listen to your instinct, it won't steer you wrong. You'll be fine. I like the idea of taking something and giving it a new life. I'm forever coming home with something from the thrift store because some little old lady made it in the 60s and their family got rid of it, and it ended up in Goodwill for 50 cents, and I just couldn't stand it. I have to take it home. It needs a home. During COVID, of course we weren't shopping, but my old shop building is a repository of everything that was left over. So we went over, we called it Shop in the Sarah Shop. We went over and dug out whatever supplies that we were going to do. We did a whole Christmas season out of the Sarah Shop that year and used up quite a bit, but I've replaced a good part of it at this point. So, but anyway, that's me, and that's what you'll get if you like what we're doing. And I kind of, I upgrade the colors and that kind of thing, but there is no new stitch, things come around every 20 years or so and get hot again. I've been around long enough to see things turn over 2 or 3 times. I've been stitching for, my grandmother started me when I was about 10 with embroidery, and I am now 69, so almost 60 years. So at Christmas time, I repurpose old Christmas cards into ornaments. You just missed Christmas in July. We did a whole month of projects for that. I don't know. Anyway, I won't say I've done everything under the sun, but I've done quite a bit of it. I've just about got this. Oh, I switched back to single and didn't even notice it, but I kind of like the switch in the pattern. About got this, probably one more row, and I'll have it as tall as I want it. And, but nope, got to go all the way around. One thing I do with these is, you can't really tell, but I always leave the tail so that I know I need to end it on the side that, on the end that doesn't have the tail, to be even. In years past, I've been a vendor for 8, 9 years at the farmers market, and then I do a lot of local shows. But I have a bad knee, and last year I fell at the farmers market several times. I enjoy being at the farmers market and visiting with people, and but it's just too much for me physically. I was gonna really hurt myself if I kept up with it. So I am investigating other options, craft malls, and a YouTube channel, and I'm still working. I work part-time as a elder caregiver, which is a cool job because I get to take my crafts with me. And my little old ladies wax nostalgic when they were crafting, and you know, we have our little discussions about the things they used to do. And I work with a lot of dementia patients, and it kind of helps keep them engaged. One of my first client was funny because she'd go, "What are we going to do today?" And I'd get her involved in picking colors, and is this big enough, and that kind of thing. She didn't have dementia, but she had some physical issues where she wasn't that mobile anymore. But she got a lot of fun out of, seeing what I was doing and that kind of thing. So, all right. You see, I am making an open area. The reason I do that is because I'm going to do a flap, and the flap will hold better, will fold over better that way. And all I'm going to do is gradually decrease, and it won't take long, usually 4 or 5 rows, and I've got the flap to the point where I want it. And I just kind of eyeball it. I do smooth out the edges so that I've got sometimes I will even scallop the edges, especially if I'm doing 2 colors. Just adds a little visual interest to it. If you are interested, I will do one of those later. This is what I do most of the time. I might have run out of chatter. That's amazing. Usually I talk all the way through these. Sometimes I talk so much I lose track of what I'm doing. But if you ever see anything that's severely edited, it's because I got very long-winded or stopped making sense. I was like, I got to cut some of that out. Oh, time to add some more. And that's a good time to show you. See how easily that folds over. No set pattern to this. You can just kind of gradually decrease it. You can make it as, you could square it off, you could make it a rounded edge. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do a single. I usually just kind of taper the edges down. And like I say, well, I'll show you. I do a single crochet up the sides and over to smooth out the edges. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm going to do half or 2 double crochets, chain 2, 1, 2, go down in that hole, and that'll leave you room for an inch, inch and a half button. 2, 3, slip stitch, single stitch. Okay. And then I just do overcasting in that buttonhole. Till I get a fairly good, solid section of it. And then finish out ran out again. Must be stitching really fast. I don't usually have to do this quite this much. Maybe I'm not pulling as much off the ball as normal. One, two. This is fairly easy because you're already attached. When you go the other direction, you have to come up from the bottom and start over again. So oh, don't tell me I don't have any scissors in here. I am back with scissors, and I grabbed my button box. So on this end we have gone down, and you see I've got a nice smooth edge. End that off and bury my thread. Well, that needs to go someplace. There. That worked. Okay, and as you see, we only had to do a few rows, and that's a good place for the button to end. So, all right. I don't have any hard and fast rules about what size needle I use either. This is a 6.5, which I think by the look of it is probably a K. I don't have the conversions memorized. And we are going to start down here on the bottom. Just a slip, and I will come back and bury those ends. Actually, I think I will just crochet over them. That will work just as well. And again, you are just doing a single crochet along the outer edge of your flap to even that edge up, and it just kind of neatens everything up. You don't have any lumps and bumps where you went around corners and hopefully evens up the look of the flap as well. Now let's see. Yep. I usually go one stitch up onto the top of the flap on this end so that it looks a little bit more consistent. Cut that off. And again, we pull that through to tighten it, and then secure our threads. I'm not going to go into a whole big old thing about what I was telling you about with the buttons, because I will probably do a video about it for too long, or at least a little short, demonstrating some of my button combinations. And again, I've been collecting buttons at thrift stores and etc. for quite some time, so I have a pretty good collection. All right. Okay. And then I will just add a button onto that, and we are done. That's all there is to it. I know I sell these for $5. But I did want to show you what I'm talking about. I have buttons, and buttons. And I just saw this one. This one might work on a little bag here. Let's see. Yeah, I kind of like that. I think I might use that. But a lot of times what I will do is I will take see if I can get one. Well, this is a huge button, but it's kind of boring. So I will take that, and a lot of what I've got are little thin wooden buttons. But what I do, that in the center, and I just glue that down after I put the big one on, and that gives it a lot more interest and a lot of, and I will pick, something that has a color that I've used. I have a selection, and they are all different, and I just will go through and find a combination I like and go from there. And it gives me a lot more, play. I do get these kind of things every once in a while. I found these at a thrift store. I always check for buttons. But anyway, that's my secret button tip. And it does generate quite a bit of visual interest with my customers. I doubt they realize that that's what I'm doing, but it makes it a lot more interesting than just some plain old black buttons sitting there. So, and one other tip, I very often I like to use the same thread to secure, but sometimes I cannot get a needle through. What I do, and you cannot get a loose piece of yarn through, it's too wobbly. So I will take my handy dandy trusty Aleene's glue, and I will put a little dab on the end and twist it to make it a little skinnier and let it dry, and that works like a needle point, and you can poke it through the button, grab it with your hook and tie it off, and you've got your button. It saves a lot of hassle. So that's my tip of the day. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll probably have to cut this down just a little bit, but I think this took us, it took less than an hour. Probably took about 45 minutes to stitch this and all the jabbering that I've done. So they are pretty quick. And like I said, I'm using Oddball yarns and it's a real good stash buster, because you don't need much yarn, and put a few examples on there so you can get some more ideas. But basically, you're just playing with leftover yarns or something, something funky that you want to use. I'll catch you soon. We usually try to post on Thursdays. Let's see what we've got coming. I do Plarn bags. I do Plarn and yarn bags. I do yarn bags. And we'll be doing probably mid-September, early October, we'll be starting to do Christmas projects again. I'm going to start off with one a week, and then, as we get closer to the season, I'll be showing you more things. But I love Christmas, and we will talk at you soon. Have a good day. If you like what you see, please share it with your friends. We're small, but we are working hard, trying to get a little bit bigger, get a little more well-known. And I'm hoping to turn this into a little bit of an income for when I can't work anymore. I'll have a little bit of other money coming in, and I won't be living on Social Security and eat cat food. So but anyway, we'll talk at you soon. Have a good day.